Good morning. This is Sunday, June 21st, and this is Newberg Mayor Rick Rogers. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Please excuse me, but I've been delving into Wikipedia a little bit lately, so here we go. Father's Day has been celebrated in one form or another since the 5th century, originating in the Orthodox Church. In the U.S., the first attempt at a national day was in 1908 to commemorate the loss of fathers in a mining accident. The worldwide recognition occurred in 1909 when Sonora Smart Dodd, who along with her 5 brothers were raised by her father alone, and having been inspired from having attended Mother's Day in a church, she tried to convince the Spokane, Washington Ministerial Association to celebrate Father's Day worldwide. She succeeded. President Lyndon Baines Johnson proclaimed the day in 1966. More on LBJ later. So thanks to Sonora Smart Dodd and the Spokane Ministerial Association, and thank you to all the fathers out there. Happy belated Juneteenth, which was Friday, also known as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, and Liberation Day. Juneteenth commemorates the announcement by Union General Gordon Granger in Galveston, Texas, that by federal order, all slaves were free from that date forward, June 19, 1865. Against this backdrop, there have been 24 straight days of protest in Portland and throughout the world in response to the murder of George Floyd. Here on Father's Day, with the convergence of Juneteenth, we must remember no one is born a racist. No child comes into this world with inherent biases based on race. These are learned behaviors. So in the words of that famous Crosby, Stills, and Nash song from 1970, teach your children well. COVID. Amazingly, it's the third item on my list. But as you probably heard, the governor issued an order making the wearing of face covering in indoor public spaces mandatory in 5 counties: Polk, Marion, Washington, Clackamas, Multnomah, and Lincoln. Determination was made as the indicator targets, including hospitalizations, contact tracing, testing, hospital capacity, and positive case rate, were not being met. Here in Yamhill County, we are not under the order, but it should be noted we would be totally surrounded by these other counties that are requiring face coverings were it not for Tillamook County. Counties can choose to opt in to the governor's order. A recommendation would be made by the county health department and requested by our 3 county commissioners. Upcoming on the City Council, our next meeting is July 6th. A couple of the items that will be highlighted is the announcement of the District 4 vacancy on council and an update on urban renewal. Now to my reading list. I'm currently reading a book called An American Melodrama, The Presidential Campaign of 1968 by Lewis Chester, Godfrey Hodgson, and Bruce Page. It was published in 1969 by Viking Press. The election, as you undoubtedly recall, occurs against a backdrop of war in Vietnam, the assassination of Martin Luther King, the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, the burning of our cities, and anti-war protests on college campuses and elsewhere throughout the world. The sitting president, startlingly, Lyndon Baines Johnson, decides not to run for re-election. Democrats field vice presidential candidate Hubert Humphrey and peace candidate Gene McCarthy. Ronald Reagan, Nelson Rockefeller, and Richard Nixon are on the Republican side. George Wallace later enters as an independent. You know how things turned out in that election. One other note on this Father's Day, I would like to thank Councilor Patrick Johnson, who stepped down from the council this week. Patrick, since he first joined council in 2016, has been unfailingly prepared, engaged, and dedicated to making our community better. Pat stated, "I realized that when I started on council in 2016, time was a luxury. My daughters are getting closer to the end of school and heading off to college. My parents are starting to need more and more support, and I need to address my lifelong habit of serving others instead of taking care of myself and my health." Those are the words of a father. Patrick, we cannot thank you enough. Please be well.